Hello Wolfpack, what can I say? We've seen this before, right? That's the topic of this video. We've seen this before for Litecoin. We have seen this in the past, not only once, but twice. And there's no reason why we won't see it again, right? I want to talk about the weekly chart. That's my main point of focus in this video. The weekly chart for both the USD pair and the Bitcoin pair. And then I'll get into the USD pair on the daily chart as well towards the end of the video. But before we get into it, if you want to know about the Litecoin fundamentals, I've done that extensively in the past in my last Litecoin video. Make sure to check that out. I'm just going to be delving into the TA. Because guys, at the end of the day, I've looked at fundamentals for a couple months now on coins, and I think we're coming up on the period of time in the market where the TA tends to matter a lot more. And if you haven't got those bags of coins that you like that have solid fundamentals, you should have those by now. And then I'm looking at trading predominantly from this point onwards. That's why we're looking at Litecoin right now, right? Because Litecoin is typically one of the first altcoins to move when the altcoin season happens, right? I'm not expecting the altcoin season to start until after Bitcoin tops out. But when it does happen, Ethereum and then Litecoin, that's historically how it's worked. Litecoin is one of the first to move, and straight into it. I'm on the log chart here for Litecoin. This is going back all the way throughout Litecoin's lifespan, so it's going back all the way to 2013 here. And the first thing I want to say on this chart, right, is the fact that before this point, we have here on May 13th, 2013, Bitcoin and the whole crypto market actually saw a double peak before this point. Okay, so what we would have seen on Litecoin, if it was around to tell the tale, would be something like this, right? At this point when Litecoin came to the market, at least on this exchange chart here, the whole market was in a downwards trend, and hence Litecoin would have been in a downwards trend as well. Just a few weeks earlier, the whole market was in an upwards trend, and hence Litecoin would have been in an upwards trend as well. So we would have seen this pattern here, and then into the depreciation, which started in May, okay? And then we saw another peak here, and then the bull market ended, okay? What we can see here in 2017, starting in May, all right, we moved upwards throughout the entire bull market. But something that's worth noting is that starting in May and ending in October, right? So we can see starting in May and ending in October, the acceleration dramatically slowed down. All right, I want to bring it back to 2013, 2014. This downwards trend started in May and ended in October. At the start of October, we pumped, right? Here in 2017, at the start of October, we pumped, okay? What we're seeing currently is the first peak, right? Just like 2013 and 2014, all right? The first leg, starting in May, we've had a correction. October has just hit. Okay, and starting right now in October, right, according to what we've seen 2 times prior, we should be going upwards, okay? And we should be seeing that double top, right, that double peak. Not double top, but we should be seeing that second leg up. So let's bring it back. Let's cut it all the way back. I'll explain it once again very clearly, okay? Starting in May 2013, we dropped downwards. Starting in October 2013, we pumped upwards. Starting in May 2017, we slowed down dramatically. Starting in October 2017, we started moving dramatically, right? This year, starting in May, we've dropped downwards dramatically. Starting in October, we've started moving to the upside. And if history is anything to say for it, we should be moving exponentially to the upside, right? In the coming months before January, okay? Notice how in 2013 here, we topped out in December. In 2017 here, we topped out in December. This is interesting, right? This is interesting because altcoins on a general basis tend to top out in January, okay? After Bitcoin tops out. But Litecoin is not like the other altcoins. Litecoin tends to top out when Bitcoin tops out. Very important to remember. When Bitcoin tops out, Litecoin tops out. Altcoins tend to top out later than Bitcoin. Litecoin's not like that. So what we will actually be looking for on Litecoin is a top out when Bitcoin tops out, which should be around December 27th, according to my calculations. So we have around 2.5 months to make new all-time highs on Litecoin, right? Is that possible? Has that happened in the past? Well, we can look here. We can say from October 30th to December 25th, we've went up roughly 600% on Litecoin in 2017. Right? We look at 2013 from October 21st to December 2nd. Right? We moved up roughly 32x, right? So we have moved up 32x and 6x, right? In this cycle, just to make a new all-time high on Litecoin, we have to move up from a current date to December 27th, only around 123%. Okay, so very, very achievable. Very, very achievable. If you think about where we will be making this high, we can go to the linear chart, right? We can look at the linear chart. Where will we be making this high? All right, just based off a price model I apply and a prediction model I apply to every single altcoin here in the market, is that around the time Litecoin reaches all-time high at 414 USD, and we'll label that out, Bitcoin reaches all-time high at 64K. Given Litecoin's tendency to perform with Bitcoin, in which it tops out with Bitcoin and it runs with Bitcoin, we can assume that if Bitcoin 2x's to my price target, or just under 2x's to my price target of 113K, Litecoin will do that plus 50% for the extra gains that altcoins typically have, right? So that will bring Litecoin to a price point, if we just extrapolate that data, that will bring Litecoin to a price point of around 130%, 954 USD. Okay, 954 USD on Litecoin. All right, let's put that as a thick line, and let's go back to the log scale and see what that looks like on the log chart. Looks realistic, right? Looks realistic. We can see that Litecoin has just barely taken out its all-time high from the last cycle, from the recent move up to 420 USD. It would actually be more abnormal if Litecoin fails to make another high here, because we literally only took out that high by around 50 USD, which is absolutely nothing. For us to get to 954 USD seems like a given to me. I think it could definitely go higher than that. I think Litecoin could break into the 4 digits. That being said, there is a psychological resistance zone at 1000 USD where a lot of people would be looking to sell. So that would be a massive barrier for Litecoin. But I think it could get there, right? I think it could get there. 961 USD is my target for Litecoin in this cycle. And if we look from current prices and we look what we did before, right? In Q4, Litecoin 32x'd in 2013. In Q4, it's 6x'd in 2017. For us to go to 900, that would be around a 4x, right? So that's even taking into account diminishing returns. That makes sense, right? Even taking into account diminishing returns, that makes sense. I think it's very possible, right? Not even that, I think it's likely, right? If we look at the Bitcoin pair, we can see that we're seeing a similar thing on Litecoin, right? We're seeing a similar thing in which we have these two peaks, these two distinguishable peaks in each bull cycle, right? We have a peak here, a peak here in 2017, and a peak here in 2017, right? Obviously, every dip down is what we see from May to October. We saw that in the USD chart. From May to October, we see diminished performance or even downwards trends. We've seen that in both of the prior cycles, and we've also seen our first peak here and our downwards trend, and now we're currently probably going to come up and make our second peak. As to where it will go, I think, historically, the second peak has been higher than the first peak on the Bitcoin pair. So we'll probably come up, and I'm assuming we're going to come up and test this resistance zone here at around 8,500 sats. I don't see us going much higher than that. The prior peak was around 7,400 sats, and historically, we haven't actually gone much higher on the second peak. So 8,500 sats seems like where we'll be going in this cycle for Litecoin, which again makes sense on the Bitcoin pair. That's about a 3x away on the Bitcoin pair. Lastly, and just briefly as well, because this is not the main point of this video, but I want to get into the daily chart. We have some interesting stuff going on the daily chart. We saw obviously this double bottom here on the daily chart, and we've headed up ever since. We've made a higher low here, which is great to see. We have some sort of inverse head and shoulders pattern playing out on the daily chart that targets the top of this resistance box at 230 USD, this red box here, which is interesting. We also have you could probably draw some sort of channel here on the daily chart as well. If you ignored this peak area here that popped out here in early September, you could draw some sort of channel. You could also draw a longer term, if you're being a little bit optimistic, you could draw some sort of ascending triangle, a symmetric triangle here on Litecoin, which indicates that a breakout is not only coming, but is basically imminent, right? It's going to happen within the next few days or the next week at the very most. I like this because this actually joins up with the theory that we're seeing that inverse head and shoulders, and if that plays out and we break to the upside now within the next few days, that inverse head and shoulder pattern will definitely play out. Also, the reason why I like this symmetrical triangle pattern, not to be overly optimistic, but if we take the target from the symmetrical triangle pattern and add it to the breakout point here, we can see that would bring us up into the 500 USD range, and that's our first, massive step of the way to the 900 USD, 950 USD price target that we've just identified on the weekly chart. So that should be interesting as well. We can look at some indicators here. We can bring up the Gaussian channel. We can see that we've actually just flipped the Gaussian channel, which is very bullish, and that indicates that we probably won't be going back down to the bottom of a triangle again for a retest. If we're going to break out, it will most likely be right here, which is interesting. The SMAs, we've flipped every single SMA on the daily chart as well. So essentially, the whole point of what I'm saying and the whole premise of this whole video is that I think that Litecoin is going to do very well. I think that performance is going to start very soon because, as I said, Litecoin typically performs with Bitcoin. Right? It moves when Bitcoin moves and it tops out when Bitcoin tops out, not like other altcoins, right? Other altcoins move separate to Bitcoin most of the time in terms of, well, that's not true, but in terms of when they move most parabolically, it's after Bitcoin tops out and when Bitcoin's moving sideways. Litecoin isn't like that, so we should be seeing some bullish performance on Litecoin sooner rather than later, which I couldn't say the same about for most altcoins, right? So I'm interested in Litecoin. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. Catch you guys in the next one.